in between innings. And I know a lot of different pitchers. This is another thing pitchers differ on. There's some guys, that sit in the dugout and you can't say a word to them. You don't even really want to be near them. They're high intensity, locked in. And then there's some other guys that are more relaxed, still locked into the game, but they try to be a little more chill in the dugout. Where do you think you lie on that scale?
Yeah, I've seen both ends of the spectrum there because my teammates are Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler, who couldn't be more different. Kersh is, don't talk to me. I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. And he wraps his arm in a towel. He drinks a certain amount of Gatorade, and he sits there and he just stares off into nowhere and just stays in assassin mode, as we call it. Buehler, he's like up talking to guys, asking about their swing, telling them to, like, hit a homer next at bat, and walking around into the locker room like all over the place. And so everyone's different. I think I'm a little bit in the middle. What I'll do is I'll usually sit for an out and just get off my feet, sit there for at least an out. One thing about being in the National League is I hit, so I gotta make sure I'm paying attention to know if I'm coming up. But let's say I'm not. I'll sit for an out, get off my feet, like I said, and just kind of chill. Think about that inning that just went down. Nowadays, you can go watch video. Like if I threw what I thought was a really good pitch and maybe got hammered, or a pitch that got called for a ball that I thought was a strike, whatever, I can go look at it real quick, check it out, see what's going on. And then usually when there's one or two, or when there's already one out, then I'll kind of get up and move around a little bit because I'm a 30-year-old man now. I'll stiffen up if I sit there too long. So I'll move around a little bit, maybe do some dry throws. And then with two outs, just stand up, do like some, twists or whatever, like make sure I'm ready to go. Think about the lineup coming up. So, if it's 2, 3, 4, go through each hitter, what the first pitch of the inning is going to be, how I'm going to attack that guy, the next hitter, so that once I'm out there, I know my plan's intact, ready to go. Maybe even talk to the catcher. If you keep talking about Nolan Arenado, but if I executed one of those good fastballs down and away and he hammered it, but I know that's a good spot, get with the catcher, be like, hey, was that as good a pitch as I thought it was? Should we go back there, or is he looking for that? Should we, brush him up in a little bit to get him off that down and away? There's a lot that goes into it, but, normally between innings, it's kind of about getting off your feet, getting a little bit of rest, but also staying loose so that once you're back out there, you're not having to use those 8 pitches to get your body warmed up. You're using those 8 pitches to make sure you're back to executing.
Right. Yeah. And absolutely. I know, like I said, everybody's a little different with that. But I would say that what people have in common, especially, at the higher levels, is they're pretty locked into the game, regardless, whether they're a little giddy in the dugout or they're more high intensity, that they're locked into the game. And like you said, you still have a job to do once you get off the mound. And that's why I think it's so important to know who you're facing next, talk to your catcher, ask him what's working, what he thinks, be on the same page. So like you said, when you go out for those warm-up pitches, you kind of have an idea, what your first pitch is, how you're going to attack that first batter. So you can kind of work on that sequence or whatever.
Not to interrupt you, but I've had some, I've been really fortunate to work with some unbelievable pitchers, man. The Clayton Kershaws, Greg Maddux, Oral Hershiser, like a lot of guys, Sandy Koufax, like unbelievable Hall of Fame pitchers come around our spring training and our games all the time. And what they basically, all of them always say is that everything has a purpose. Whether you're in the weight room, watching video, warming up between innings, whatever it is, it has a purpose to it. Like if you're going to go about doing something, why wouldn't you do it the right way? Why wouldn't you get better at it? Like if you're going to take the time to watch video, have a purpose, have something that you're trying to get out of it. Same with like a bullpen session. Like a lot of guys will just get on the mound, they'll throw 20 pitches and they'll get off the mound and be like, well, what did you just work on right there? And they're like, oh, nothing. I was just, and like, no, like you need to have a purpose. Like were you working on breaking balls for a strike that day? Are you working on fastballs up in the zone? Are you working on just getting your glove side? Like anything, it could be really small, but when you are doing something, have a purpose behind it and get better, or else, why are you even doing it?
Absolutely. I think that's a great message for these guys right now too, especially, at home. It's not just grab a bat and swing as many times as you can, or just grab the ball and throw it. Have a purpose behind those bullpens. That's what we talk about. I talk a lot with our pitchers, when they're throwing that bullpen, like, what do you want to work on today? It's not a sufficient answer to just say, well, I just wanted to get some feel.
Yeah.
Have a plan, go in there. What do you need to work on? Everybody has something to work on, even big league guys. So having that plan and being prepared is obviously the way to go about it. And especially during this time, I think that's the way you can get the best out of you is understanding your weaknesses and trying to bridge the gap between those and your strengths. So last thing about the mental part of the game for you. One of the things I remember you being very good at was, we talked a little bit about it, but bouncing back, not only just inning to inning or in a tough situation, but between starts, which I honestly think is one of the toughest things as a pitcher, is having a tough start, a lot running through your head, and then you have to sit there 3-4 days before your next start. What do you do between your starts? How do you get over that bad start? Is it something you do preparation wise, or do you use that last start in your preparation, or do you just try to forget it completely?
I don't reminisce a ton on past starts, but what I'll do is, whether it was good or bad, I'll remember maybe 6 to 10 pitches that were vital to that start, whether they had good results or bad results. You can remember 6 to 10 pitches that basically altered the results of that start, whether it was good or bad. And I'll go watch those pitches. And that's a Zach Greinke-ism. That's what he used to do. And so that, you get a little feel for what that day looked like, and then you put it behind you. And just from those 10 pitches, you can get a pretty good feel of what your stuff looked like that day, what was going right, what was going wrong in those big situations, and then use that now over the next 4 or 5 days as you prepare for the next start. So let's say I really struggled. My curveball just wasn't on. I'll go watch, 5 to 7 of those curveballs, really dive into why they stunk, what was going, maybe I was leaking, whatever the issue may be. And then that bullpen 2 days later will be very centered on curveballs. And that's just an example. It could be anything. It might just be your mechanics were messed up. It might be your fast, you couldn't get anything to your glove side, your arm side, whatever. But that bullpen will have a much bigger purpose to it if the last start was bad. And you'll sit there and fine tune until that bullpen is pristine, right? And you're doing exactly what you need to do. And from there, you can kind of build confidence going into that next start. Throw a flat ground again the next day to really cement in the stuff that you worked on the day before, and just, use that to build confidence, because I know I touched on it earlier, but like pitching, you have the advantage. It's so hard to hit. You have the advantage. So you should feel really confident that if you struggled the outing before, but you went and fixed whatever you were struggling with, you should feel pretty good that now, okay, I'm in a good spot. I'm going to have a lot of success this next start. And yeah, just and positive reinforcement, man, like build yourself up. I mean, the power of the mind is big. If you crack down on yourself and tell yourself that you stink and that you're not going to go out there and have success, that's exactly what's going to happen. So build yourself up. Pitching's a blast, man. Go out there and have fun, compete your tail off, be a bulldog, and just attack everyone with conviction. And more times than not, you're going to have success. So that's kind of my mentality. If you struggle, man, get back out there and do it again, because it's fun. Who knows when it could end, right? I mean, you can attest to that, man.